Well, today's going to be a little bit different episode.
I'm here. Cut Brad.
Brad's been cut. And actually a different angle on the video if you're watching this. We're a little bit closer. It's just Ken and I today.
Quite literally cut Brad out of the picture.
Yeah, just the two of us.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Actually, it's not going to be as good because Brad's not here.
Exactly.
But we can talk about him.
Yeah. We love Brad.
He's not going to bring the analytical angle.
Yeah.
So this is just going to be a crazy person talking to
a crazy person. Two crazy people talking.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I think this should be good. Maybe this is like the relaxed agency exposed. We've been talking a lot, Ken, about and it's called agency exposed for a reason. We pull back the curtain, talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we've been talking about a lot of challenges over this past year because we've all had them, COVID and just life. And, we like to talk about the struggles here because you don't really hear a lot of people talking about the struggles of agency life. But I thought today we could spend a few minutes just talking about the great things and those people who may have been listening, recently and it's like, maybe I don't want to start an agency.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great things and probably the good things obviously outweigh the bad or we wouldn't be sitting here doing this. So
yeah,
I thought maybe we could jump into this just like off the top of your head, Ken, what's the first thing that gets you up in the morning when you think about your work?
No, I mean, I think you're right. And you're right. We pull back the curtain because no one else does. Mm-hmm. So, we talk about a lot of problems that we've either tried or gotten solutions to, and hopefully we're helping someone else. I think agencies in general always project on like this beautiful picture. So, we don't want to be that. That's kind of like the reason for this podcast. But, as I was thinking this morning when we were texting, I was thinking, okay, so when I started, I wasn't from this, and actually when I started, it was with you, and you'd been doing it for a while, and it was so exciting. And I think sometimes I have to get myself back to that place because it can feel like, after you're doing it for 10, 15 more years, that it starts to, you may not recognize that anymore. But what was exciting is you get to do all these cool different projects all the time. And I don't know, for someone like me, I enjoy trying to do something that can't be done.
Yeah. I love that.
I remember seeing before I even met you and while you were in BuzzPlan, like that was what I thought was the coolest thing about BuzzPlan is you would put out these things that seemed like they couldn't be done.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about it like that, but that's when someone asks me like, what do you love about your job, or how do you, over the years, why do you stay in it? I always say because it's creative and different, and it's fun, and I really mean that. It is. Yeah, there's certainly a lot of pain, and we've talked about that, and there's ups and downs and feasts and famine. But I can't imagine doing anything else where I would get to get up every day and really create something out of nothing, like you said, and then surround myself with people that love to do the same thing, and then have a really satisfied customer at the end of it that says, wow, this is amazing work. And it might be new branding ideas or driving new customers or, I love the challenge of it, but also too, I think what we love is the ever-changing world of technology that doesn't ever get boring to us.
That's a big part of it, especially for me, and I think for most people now. Like, I didn't come from the advertising world. I don't think you did either, didn't you?
Not really, no.
Like before that, yeah. Mm. So it's from the technology side that we kind of came into this, and what I loved about technology was it was completely emerging. It's like blockchain is right now, or more. Maybe that's even emerged by this point, but it's completely emerging, and you're trying to do things that no one else can do.
Yeah.
And there's that challenge. I think actually, as I analyze that, I'm like, why? So then, why is it stressful sometimes? And I know we're talking about good things.
Yeah.
But as I analyze that, it's like, why is it stressful sometimes? I think I think agencies maybe do this a lot, but I think when there's not enough time or money, resources, budget to do that thing, and you're forced to do it in what is unrealistic or a shorter time frame, or you don't have enough time in the day, I think that's what causes more of the stress and the pain and the mishaps with most agencies and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because if you remove that aspect of it, it's like, yeah, let's go do this crazy thing that you want to do.
What you're saying is what stresses us out is the constraints of reality.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I guess so. Yeah. It's unfortunate.
Yeah. No, it's kind of the illustration I use. It's like a kid in a toy shop many times. That's the way I look at my life and my career is, I can go in and research and find and experiment and see all kinds of new shiny things. And it's more than just shiny. It's, you mentioned blockchain. Like I've been thinking lately, like how is that going to change marketing, and how can I use that, and how can I find tools to really do my job better? And so the illustration I always think of is, your kid, if you have a kid, or if you've done this yourself, you remember going to toy stores when toy stores were a thing, or the toy section of Target, and you just you want to go down every aisle and you want to look at it.
Yes, I still want to do that. I still want to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And then, but your dad or your mom was going, come on, Bob, hurry up. We got to go. And you're like, just hold on one more second. I just want to go down. Yeah. That's where the stress comes in.
Yes.
It's people around us going, yeah, those are all fun ideas, but how are we going to make money on it? And how can we do it in a timely manner? And is this going to work? And, not everything works well, and not every engagement is a success. And so for me, maybe that's where some of the stress comes, and the process stuff we've talked about, but it is a lot of fun.
I mean, again, I think agencies have suffered from this, not because they even want to, but because there's a perception that you're going to be perfect and you won't fail, right? So this thing, I'm going to come to you because, and I think agencies perpetuate that by being maybe overly confident, or maybe just not as real about the pitfalls and challenges with various whatever you're doing, projects and those kind of things. But the truth is, a lot of times is you're trying something that hasn't been done somewhere else. A lot of times you're not, but there are instances where you're doing something that hasn't been done, or advertising a new product that's never been out before.
Yeah.
And sometimes we project. I think the industry projects that's going to be just perfect, no problem. We're gonna, be able to hit that.
Yeah.
And confidence is one thing, but perfectionism is another thing.
Well, there's really, and maybe that's the other reason I love it so much, and I find it always creative.
Yes,
is that two different people, two different agencies could look at something and offer a different solution, and they both could be right and they both could work. And I love that about this. I can enter into a meeting and they say, Bob, what do you think? And I could look at everything and say, well, why don't we try this? Because I've done this for a client and it worked, but why don't we try it in this market? And then another person at the table could say, yeah, that could work. Or maybe instead we do this, and this. And both those answers could be right. And it's different. Like if I was building a house, or if I was, an accountant, there'd probably be only one way that you did it correctly. Measure it, you cut it the right way, you build the foundation this way.
Maybe. Yeah, and maybe an accountant, because they have to follow through DRS.
And there's standard.
Then there's the people that step outside of that, right?
Sure.
But yes, you're right. There's one way typically that it's done.
And you do it over and over again. Yeah. And like you said, some people might get a little bit outside the box, but in our business and in marketing, agency, branding, whatever side of it you're in, it's a different palette or a different canvas every day that you can go in and create something for your client that can be really successful for them. And yes, there's processes. Yes, there's best practices. Yes, there's standards that we follow. But inside that world, there's a lot of freedom.
Yes. I think it goes along with the freedom is the variety. I think that attracts a lot of people. And that's something that I enjoy. I think sometimes people don't realize, because once you might start to take it for granted. and then the variety, then you don't realize that you need that variety in your life. And but being able to work with various different businesses in a single day, on one side of the coin, that could be stressful and that could be challenging to focus, and there are those challenges. But on the other side of the coin, it's variety. And I think for someone like you and I, that I know what drives us. I can probably talk for you a little bit, like that entrepreneurial, like get up every day, something, some opportunity today.
It's a niche that can only be scratched.
Yeah, it's not really money, but money's obviously a scoreboard, but it's just that, man, the world is your oyster type of feel. Like that is really exciting. And I think when you work inside of an agency that works with multiple businesses on their business problems, it's actually not on this. I mean, you could argue that an accountant does that, but and actually that's good variety for I know great accountants that love the variety. So I don't want to say that is not scratching that same itch. It's just a little different. But I would selfishly say, we're getting to work on the most exciting parts of the business, the problems of how do we launch this product, or how do we get people to really see the value of this thing and hook people, and how do we build technology that, does all those things.
I was talking to someone yesterday, and I think it's another way of saying what you just said, is I don't know of any other business that exists that gives somebody, especially young people, the depth and the width and the breadth of business experience. Because literally, especially when someone comes in as a client manager or client director that's young, you get to go to boot camp every single day and learn. And this person was saying, and I think I agree with it because he's in agency life too. He said, if you come in straight out of college or whatever it may be, and you start project managing or client managing, whatever it may be in an agency specifically, you get the equivalent of an MBA within 2 years. Right. And the reason is that it's unique is because, like you said, you work with different types of vertical markets, industries on different projects with different goals. And you get to sit there and be the person that is dealing with the client, giving them their info, talking about financial results, maybe dealing with the billing aspect, seeing how the whole process works, getting to talk to and know management styles, communication styles. Where do you get to really do that? When you're just focusing on one thing and one type of business, it can get stale, I would imagine. That's just not my style. But to be able to go in any day and work on 5 different projects with 5 different businesses and companies and projects and industries, that's pretty exciting.
I tell that to myself and to other people all the time, just to kind of remind them that was going to be my next one. My next good thing is you get to work with so many different businesses that I would say you're getting paid to peek behind the curtain of hundreds of businesses and business models that have marketing problems and all these things, and then work on that. And we pay hundreds of $1,000s for MBAs or for for traditional college educations, to learn that. And in an agency like type environment, you actually get to get paid to learn it.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a huge blessing, a huge benefit, right? Like, and I would say the benefit, again, like you could say, well, certain other industries have some of that, like accountants and CPAs and other, they do. What I've always found interesting is, me being an entrepreneur and being able to, be in the agency world, you're on like the front end of those problems, on the business mechanics of those problems, where you can actually learn and then, without violating anything. I'm not saying trade secrets, but you learn, you see trends, and then you apply that. You can apply that to your life, your business, and that's like a huge benefit. Like, where else could you get paid to go in, to various different businesses and just learn how they work. And
Yeah.
you see their problems, you see the model that works, you see the model that doesn't work.
And help them solve them.
And help them solve them.
Like that's the one thing. It's like you can read about businesses and study them, but to be in the trenches and helping solve and go, oh, this is more than just head knowledge or book knowledge. You're actually getting to sit down across the table, hear what their struggles are or what their needs are, and then offer a solution. And then see how that solution is executed and played out, ultimately to a conversion of whatever it may be, more money, more customers, better awareness for that client, whatever the project is. And I can't think of another industry that really gives you that ability to do that. I don't know of any other business that you could do that in. And for the creative type, we always talk about the business side of this. For the creative types, that same thing. It's like I talk to creatives and designers and develop, more design side, and what is it like for them to work for one company for years and still, like, I'm designing car tires, or I'm designing whatever it may be, watches. That's great. But after 3 years of designing a watch, how more creative can you be designing a watch? And again, not to disparage anyone who loves their
not
job.
to knock the watch designers out there.
Right. That's a beautiful thing. But imagine being able to design something different every single day and multiple times a day. That's a great opportunity, especially for young creatives.
I mean, and it's funny because creative type people. I ask myself that question all the time, because as a creative person, because there are other people that maybe value the same thing more than the creativity, right? And so, so being in a business where they're doing the exact same thing every day, that's not necessarily a bad thing. But for creative people, like, where else, even if you work, not even designing a watch, but even if you work in one single brand, you're not really flexing your creative ability. I could be wrong. A bunch of people might email us, but you're not rebranding that company every day. You're not rethinking things every day, and you probably don't want to be. But that creativity is limited. The fun thing about being able to work with multiple businesses is, like, you've got that creativity that can be applied to each one. But then also think, like, no matter what your talents are, like, they can almost be applied inside of a marketing environment.
Yeah.
Whether you sing or Nashville, write songs, like play, like, even if you do those things and you don't even apply them for the businesses, that ability to write a song is ability to write copy that entices people, all those things. Where else can you apply those and work? Usually people are like, yeah, I play guitar on the side, and then I, do customer support at this place or whatever. Like they separate their work and their talents. I think one of the things I've mentioned before to you is I've been looking at that particularly. So, we're located in Franklin, which is right outside Nashville. This is Music City, right? They say, what's the statistic? Like 80% of the songs on the radio written in right here, right in this,
or recorded or
like
something
within 5 miles of this office. And music, audio engineering, the video, all these things, players. I mean, this is the town for it, right? What's the joke in Nashville is, what do you call a musician? A waiter.
A waiter.
Right, because not the musicians.
Or a coffee.
Yeah, a barista.
Barista,
Yeah, I think I'm guaranteeing you that barista is
connected
you probably
somehow.
know. Yeah. And that's not to knock them, it's just because there's so many and the talent is so high.
The same thing if you go to LA, it's what do you call an actor? A waiter.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. And so the density is so high. So what I've been looking at lately is, I'm like, and you may have seen this if you've seen any of our videos or anything like that, but like how do we leverage, and I would ask any business this, especially in the agency world, like, what is your unique raw materials, the unique raw materials that are in your town that only you have access to, or something like that. And how do you leverage those to be better at what you do where no one else can copy that because it's your unique raw materials? And for us, like, I'm like, okay, well, what are those? I mean, the thing right under our nose are all that creative talent. You talk about players, you talk about like just engineers and producers and those kind of things. So we started looking at, like, okay, obviously, when we do videos, when we write stuff, when we record stuff, like, how do let's bring in, and unfortunately for a lot of those people, they're also, because particularly the music industry has shifted, a lot of them are struggling sometimes with work. And so, how can we utilize that abundance of a really high talent and maybe help direct them in rethinking how they can apply it?
That's good.
And reuse it in what we do.
I love that.
We haven't really figured out all of it on the client side, but I'll tell you what, like, our videos that comes to, it's funny. If I could probably name, you could do this as well. But for anyone who's not in Nashville, like, I could probably name, like, there are probably 3 A-level celebrity names that most people, if they listen to music, would know, that work on our stuff. And some of them work for us, because they used to do it and they don't anymore. And that's the cool thing about Nashville.
Right.
Like, one of our guys, like, he used to be, that just came on, he used to be one of the most popular musicians in Europe. And they've, that era has ended, and he's transitioned his life and over the last 10 years. And now he's working for us in various capacities, but he still tours with some of these major bands. And it's always like, hey, is it okay if I tour? It's at nights, I'll be working on the bus and those kind of things and those type of times. And I'm like, absolutely, because that is so cool, A. And B, like, that's the unique fabric of where we come from, right? We're in Music City. Yeah. So of course, like, we're going to have musicians that are doing those kind of things. And that, I know I'm off on a really crazy tangent.
I think it's a great way to pull it back around, is what you're saying is, not only do we get the opportunity to have fun and be creative in our jobs, but we get the opportunity to be creative in the people that we hire and allow them to enjoy the same life, is what you're saying.
And even give them an outlet sometimes.
Give them an outlet. Exactly. Yeah. I love that aspect of our business, is to see the diamond inside of people that are don't even know they have something to offer from a business creative side. They're just like, well, I'm a creative and I write music. Like, I've never even thought about being an agency. Well, heck yeah. Right. Like, we have to write jingles. We have to, we have to write background. We have to have background for ads or videos. And I find a lot of these people too, they have a creative side to them and way of thinking, that to be able to tap into that, that's what I also realized too, from the psychology of advertising. It's you want someone at the table who thinks uniquely and differently, who's been around the world, like this guy. I can imagine, I bet he could offer so much to a marketing plan and strategy that he doesn't even realize. Like, right. Why? Because he's traveled all over the world and talked to many different people, and communicated from the stage his craft. And isn't that kind of what we do?
Right. And also, what's interesting about that is, as I'm just thinking on that, it's like, what do brands want? Fans.
Exactly.
What's marketing? Fan generation.
Right.
What does a multi-platinum band have?
Yeah. Fans.
Well, how do you reverse engineer that, right? Someone that's done that.
When we first connected many moons ago, and we were working together, and you were over at the office, and the main industry that I started with in the digital advertising world was the music world, because I knew that like, who's gonna have the fan base and think outside the box and invest money in digital advertising back in the early 2000s when no one was doing it as much? Well, entertainment, because like you said, they have fans, and now everybody uses that language today. It's like raving fans, online influencers have fans. Your brand has building fans of your brand. So yeah, it's kind of interesting how that's come full circle. But the artist, the musician, the creative who's struggling out there, agencies have a lot to offer them, and they have a lot to offer us.
I mean, just to kind of put the last point on that one, I've got, again, this is Nashville. We always see, we know there's people like this all over the place, but I even know of a guy that we were kind of trying to help monetize his fan base. And he's probably like, I would say B-level country artist, like probably well, like a lot of people would know him, but, not Jason Aldean, right? So
not Jason Aldean.
Not Jason Aldean. So, but I'm looking at it and he's talking to me. It's like, hey, yeah, here's what we're doing. And I'm listening to him, and he's consistently putting 300 people in seats every day, like, going to different venues on his own. He has a record label and those kind of things, but like without being on a giant tour, he's just like touring around, putting consistently 300 seats. 300 people every day are opening, and in the middle of COVID too, like walking out of their doors, like going to this place to listen to somebody. I'm like, it just occurred to me. Now that's obviously, some people might be like, oh, that's such a small number, but can you get 300 people out of bed every single day to go to your, not listen to you online, but like to go to a show, pay money? That's not as easy as it sounds. And obviously people in the music industry understand that. And yes, like there are brands that can do that. But I would say, not many brands can pull 300 people out of like could do the same thing. Even
300
big ones,
customers,
even big ones, like walking out of their door, like traveling to a place, doing that kind of stuff. And it's just occurred to me, like the talent, the reverse engineering of that, and how could this person even help do that? Because while they're trying to struggle, and they're like, I only get 300 people and which is small sounding, and actually small relative to some bigger artists. But you're saying every single day, right? Almost every day as you're touring around, like, you reverse engineer that talent, or you use that talent, you reverse engineer that, and you apply that to businesses. That's the magic. And I know we're in this kind of Nashville vibe, but like those things I think are really great about agencies.
Right. And I think too is what everything that you just said and we've been talking about. It does take a unique, special person too, and that's the other side of the coin that I just want to be clear before we wrap this up. Is it's not for everybody. Like this, there's always a cost to everything, and to me, it's worth it. But to live in that environment where you do get that freedom, where you do get that creativity, where you do get that fun atmosphere, it's a gamble, right? Like you can go back and listen to all our podcasts and talk about, the challenges of it.
Right.
So, but the payoff is what we're talking about.
Yeah. And I believe that there's a way always, where there seems like there is no way. So my goal is always, how do I eliminate all the challenges and improve all the things that we love? And
I would just encourage anyone who's listening today is if you've been contemplating starting an agency, or you're toying with it, or maybe you're just a solopreneur, you've been listening to us, I would say jump in. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to be as creative as you want to be. And remember, if there's one lesson that I would say, there's not one way to do it. And that, I think, is that's the misnomer that people fall into the trap of. Oh, I've been following Gary Vee, and Gary Vee wouldn't do this, or I've been following this agency, or I bought this manual program of how to optimize Facebook ads. And you can learn from all those, and you should be educating yourself. But I think you hit the nail on the head, is find what's uniquely you and run with it. Don't try to be anybody else. Don't try to be any other salesperson. Don't try to be Tony Robbins or Gary Vee or Steve Jobs, whoever you look up to as your mentor. Learn from that person, but find the reason you look up to them is because they are uniquely them, and no one else can be them. And you need to find what that is. And in your agency world, don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to try different things and just go for it. I would say if that's your desire, it will have its ups and downs, but it's extremely rewarding. I have found.
I agree, and I think that what you just said, I just want to pull out and reemphasize is, I think even for creative people and agencies, they get stuck in, this is the only way to do this thing. Mm-hmm. And so when it comes down to something like Facebook ads or something like that, it's like, I got to do it this way. And then as soon as Facebook changes, it's like, oh my goodness, or they're following somebody else's method because that is like supposedly the formula for success. The truth is like, I think you're losing the power in it, because the power is you've got creative ability and you've got this open canvas and a bunch of these powerful tools and things. The power is, how do I create something that may or may not be created? I'm not saying recreate the wheel for no reason. Right. I'm just saying, don't be stuck inside that wheel and say, maybe I should do it this way. Oh, no. Well, they don't do that way. Right. So you got to flex that creative ability. And then I think you'll find that you're going to be less commoditized too.
Yeah, absolutely. People hire agencies for a couple of reasons: for their unique perspective and for their expertise. And you only get a unique perspective and an expert when you do exactly what we're talking about, right? You worked in different industries. You're uniquely you think outside the box. That's what companies, organizations are coming to you for. Like, if they needed the correct way to do something, they could go hire the correct person to do it or read the manual on how to do it. The reality is, they don't do the creative. They don't know how to connect with customers. They don't think outside the box, and that's what they're hiring is for your expertise. So,
good stuff.
Good discussion, man. Thank you. Yeah. And Brad, we missed you.
Yeah, Brad will be back. Not next time though.
All right.
I don't think.
Until next time.
But Brad won't be back, I don't think, next time. So.
Oh, okay. Well, it'll be another episode of us, and maybe we'll have a special guest.
Maybe we'll have a special guest. All right.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye.